Good morning, good morning. Just gonna wait for a few people to join. Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, midday break. We're just gonna give it a couple of minutes just to let a few people join, just so we can get started. Awesome. Hello everyone, nice to see you all. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Hopefully you're halfway through your work day. Awesome. So, looks like we have enough people to get started. So, wanted to focus today on a couple of areas, or one main area. So I'm just going to turn the comments off. One of the key areas I want to focus on today is especially for anyone who likes to wear these. This is not mine, I have borrowed this, but this is for anyone that uses a high heel on a regular basis, or someone who may use something with a heel lift, or something that essentially takes their walking gait slightly further forward anteriorly. And what I mean is, I'm going to show you, with a normal heel, our center of gravity is somewhere around here. We're standing nice and tall. With a high heel, if you are someone who wears one, it has a tendency to shift our center of gravity slightly further forward. So for today's Mobility Monday, today's session, we're going to be focusing on loosening up those tight ankles, doing some work to reduce that tension in our posterior chain, and hopefully if you're someone that might suffer from, let's say, tension headaches or something similar, or lower back tightness, we can help relieve some of those issues. So, as we always do with each mobility session, we're going to start with a few fundamentals. The first one is, do we have a feedback loop? So our feedback loop for today is going to be some ankle mobility check-ins. And the easiest way to do it is you can either do something that's relevant to you, a squat, a lunge, or even comfortability with sitting. But I'm going to show you a really simple way. I have a wall here. We're going to do an ankle mobility check-in. So the first thing to do is take your ankle about 2 inches away from the wall. Okay, so about there, it's probably right. And we're just going to do a check-in to see if I can get my knee close to the wall. Most people, unlike myself, should be able to get their knee to the wall. If you don't, just inch your knee forward and then start from where your knee touches the wall and then work back. This is going to be your feedback loop. After you do all the work, we'll see if there's any improvement. So the first thing we're going to need is a lacrosse ball. Now, I would say obviously check them with both ankles on that piece just to see if there's any difference in both ankles, and then that will obviously give you a fairly good comparison afterwards. So as always, we're going to start with a lacrosse ball. We want to work on removing some tension out of the surface of the foot, which often gets really, really tight and jammed into those that position, that high heel, where the toes are kind of squashed at the front. We can get some tension through the front of the foot, and we can also get some tension that rises all the way up the posterior chain, as the musculature that runs through the body is it's very connected, and it's more of a continuum than an individual muscle that kind of sets it. So starting to work that foot, there's a couple of ways you can do it. First one is we can pin on that kind of tender area, and we can flex our toes, so extend as well. And then once that kind of eases off, we're not looking for anything too aggressive. We're looking for like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 in terms of stretch awareness. It doesn't need to be uncomfortable. We're just getting some proprioception back in the area, getting a little bit of tension taken out of the posterior chain, as I say. And we're just going to see if there's any areas that are really tight. A really great place to start. Once we've done that side, let's move across to the side that I did check in, my left side, which is the side that I will compare probably most today, just to see if there's any major change. Obviously do both when you come to do this, or if obviously joining at home, feel free to do both. So again, find somewhere where you have extra tension, probably in one of the arches. Normally it's going to be, if you're someone who has plantar fasciitis or something, it'll probably be at the back of the heel. If you're someone who may have tension the front of the foot, we're going to deal with that specifically in the minute with some really great stretches for your toes. But let's just see how you feel. So just check in. If this doesn't feel as bad as the other side, you may just want to skip over it, maybe you don't need it. If you want to spend longer, not a problem. But I would always say frequency over intensity. You want to make sure that it's a 6 or a 7 out of 10, probably nothing more. Okay, so with that in mind, we could do a little check-in just to see if that's something which is useful for you in your mobility drills. Because again, in these sessions we'll say only include it if it's useful. We want to make sure that we're efficient with our time. We want to make sure that we're not picking things that's going to take 20, 30 minutes of rolling around the floor. We're going to have a really efficient workout. So let's check in. Let's see if that improved. So a little tiny bit of improvement. And again, for me, that may not be the thing that helps me. So we're going to move on to our next stretch. Really going to love this one. I personally like to do this one. End of the day, beginning of the day, it really helps take some tension out of my feet. So all we're going to do, excuse me if my feet are nasty, but we're going to interlock our toes and our fingers if you can. Might be uncomfortable when you first do this, but honestly, this is a great stretch for your feet. So once you have your fingers interlocked with your toes, we're just going to start tractioning slightly, not aggressively, a little bit of traction, light traction, like a 1 or a 2 out of 10 in terms of pressure, away from you. And I want you to imagine that we're just going to curve around the corner. We're going to traction out and around, just take some tension out of those toes, and then we're just going to start to slowly rotate as we traction those feet out. And that's really going to help to take some tension out the bottom portion of your foot, that plantar fascia area at the base of the foot. So keep tractioning, tractioning, and a little bit of rotation. And then at the end of this, we always say after we mobilize, we like to stabilize. We can do a little bit of work to help our toes splay a little bit. So we're going to push our toes out, and then we're going to try and get our toes to push back in on our fingers. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze those toes. We're going to push out, 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 out. It's probably a little bit uncomfortable when you first do this, I might add. It can be really uncomfortable just because then they might be used to being bunched into those tight soles, those tight toe areas of the shoe. Push, 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 squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Just squeeze your fingers with your toes. And let's see how that feels. Probably feels pretty good now. Probably a little bit better. Again, feel free to check in. Let's do the other foot. We're going to interlock our fingers with our toes. We're going to make sure that we have a good grip. I'm a little bit tighter on this foot. So we're going to traction forward about a 1 or a 2 out of 10. Not too much pressure, doesn't need much. We're not trying to dislocate a toe or anything. And we're going to pull around the corner, and we're just going to add a little bit of rotation. Again, really awesome way to get some mobility back in that foot, and also feels really good if you're wearing heels for a while. Again, not my heel. We're going to traction up, we're going to traction around, and we're just going to do little circles. Really effective if you've just had a shower as well, because obviously your feet are going to be nice and supple and warmed up, and can be a really good way just to get that foot engaged with the floor when you're doing things like squatting, if you like to squat barefoot, or if you like to work out barefoot. So with that in mind, let's do a check-in. We've finished with mobilizing our toes and our feet, so hopefully we should have taken a little bit of tension at that posterior chain. So let's do a little bit of a check-in again. So again, I checked my left, so I'm going to check my left, but if you want to do both, feel free to do both. Let's see if there's any improvement. So a little bit. My heel's rising slightly, so I can come forward a little bit. Yeah, definitely a little bit of improvement there. So I can come away slightly, see how far I got. So that would be something that would probably be quite effective for someone like myself. And the next thing we want to do is we're going to do a little bit of a foam roll. So if you have a foam roller, great. Or alternatively, you can use something that has a little bit of an edge, because we're not going to be rolling per se. We're just going to use it to kind of help loosen up our calf a little bit. So let's grab our foam roller. We're going to place our calf, let me come forward just a little bit, back, sorry. So you can see, we're going to place the middle of our calf on the foam roller. I'm going to apply a little bit of downward pressure by lifting our hip, and we're just going to bring our foot towards us, so dorsiflexion towards us, point our toes up. And you probably, if this is someone that has tension, I would say probably like a 7 out of 10 is fine. Just, 6 or a 7 out of 10. We're not going for pain. Pain is something we want to avoid, because at the end of the day, we're just trying to mobilize. So if you have tension here, this could be a good place for you to do more frequently to help you improve that dorsiflexion, or that toe towards your knee. So things like lunges and squats will feel better for you. So again, if that starts to ease up, you can either move up a little bit and capture both your gastroconcilius, 2 muscles at the back, as it kind of widens out, and do the same thing. If you want more pressure because you're not feeling it enough, you can lift that hip off slightly by pushing into the floor, and we can apply a little bit of downward pressure. If you would like to take this to a level 3, where there's even more pressure because you want a little bit more of a stretch, you can put this leg on top, lift those hips up, and that should also help you. Okay, so let's move up to the top portion of that calf, and let's put a little bit of weight. Again, regression would be just doing the roll without weight. And again, we're just bringing our toe towards us. We're not aggressively rolling backwards and forwards. We're just back, forwards with weight. We can also go side to side if you feel that works for you. Okay, so let's switch sides. Let's switch sides to our left side. Obviously, if you've been doing it on your right, on your left, do it on your right hand side. Start with the same thing. So a little bit of downward pressure on the foam roller. Not aggressively rolling backwards and forwards. We're going to pull our toe towards us, and we're going to just find that point where we feel a little bit of tension. I'm a little less tense on the side, so I might need a little bit of kind of searching to find out that point that I need. But we're going to bring our toe towards us, pull it back, bring it down, bring it back, bring it down. Add a little bit of weight if you need it. You can either put your leg across, or you can lift your hips, so you can do both. Toe towards us and away, making sure you're breathing. That's another really important factor with a lot of the mobility stuff. If you're someone who, you've probably seen them in the gym, someone who's bright red in the face and really grunting and making a lot of noise when they're mobilizing, it's probably not that effective. So just worth bearing in mind when you do this. Okay, so now that we've done that, again, we could check in, see if there's any improvement. See, there's a little bit of improvement there. Yeah, a little bit of improvement. So tension out the calf for myself, a little bit of tension out of the toes and the plantar fascia at the bottom of the foot. Really, really great way of restoring some of that sliding tissue on the back of the body. The next thing we want to do is, now that we've mobilized that tissue, is to stabilize a little bit by activating some of the musculature on the front, so we'll try and balance it out a little bit. So there's a couple ways of doing this. We can either do what's referred to as tibialis anterior activation, or that musculature on the front that kind of gets a little bit lengthened when your calf gets tightened, when we're in this plantar flex position, when we're using something with a heel. So we're going to start with that one, and I'll show you an alternative as well. So first thing we want to do is we want to, and actually I'll do it on my left because that's the side I'm comparing, is we're going to bring our knee forward to a point where it's slightly more towards our toes, where we're comfortable. We feel a light stretch on the front of our leg, on the calf, around the front here, where you feel that anterior tibialis, sorry. And we're going to try and activate. So the first thing you want to do is put a little bit of weight into that front leg. I'm going to try and pull our toes up towards us. Try and pull our toes up towards us. Might feel it start to cramp a little bit on the front. If you don't feel anything on the front here, just lean more in towards it, and then try and push into the ball of that foot and lift those toes up, and then relax. We're going to pull the knee forward again. Pull that knee forward. I'm having to start to work here a little bit. It's challenging for me, so I'm going to pull those toes up. Toes up, 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 up. Oh, start to really feel that work now. It's really challenging for me. So pulling it up, 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 and relax. And you can do that, 5 to 10 times, just to really, really activate the front of that leg, that anterior tibialis. Really important to get some balance between the calf and anterior tibialis. When people are lacking in those areas, if you have a tight calf, often the body will kind of shift its tissue dominance, and you'll get kind of tight on the front, tight on the back and loose on the front. We're going to get that muscle activated so we can balance the two out. So another alternative that you could use is we could do it against the wall. So if you'd rather not be on the floor, you'd rather do it standing, sometimes this can be a little bit easier. We're just going to put our foot down. So our back foot's the foot we're working. Let me work down so you can see. Back foot's the foot we're working. So we're going to push that heel into the floor. So I'll switch so you can have a better view. We're going to push that heel into the floor. And we're already in a little bit of a stretch. So all we're going to do is we're going to try and lift those toes at the back. And you should, if you push your hips forward, keep that leg straight, feel a little bit of a stretch on the back in both the calf and the anterior tibialis as you're trying to engage those toes upwards. You're trying to get into that dorsiflex position. Pull, 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 pull. Or really challenging, just release off. So now we're adding that kind of PNF, that contraction piece into this to kind of deepen that stretch. So what we're going to do is once we're in that deep stretch position, we're pushing into the floor with our toes. We're digging in, we're push, 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 pushing down with our toes, push, 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 and now relax. And you see it. I don't know if you saw that then, but my range kind of opened up a little bit. I sank forward a little bit. So now I'm in that range. I'm going to pull those toes up, pull those toes up. So I'm pulling, 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 pulling. I'm in that stretch position. I'm pulling up. I should really feel the front of my shin activating. Pull, 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 pull. Pull, 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 and relax. And now we're going to do it one more time, okay? So we're going to push down to the floor, push, 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 really activate, push those toes in, dig in if you can, dig in, get in that stretch position, dig in, and then relax, and see if you get any more range. I've got a little bit more range there in that dorsiflex position, so a little bit more of an improvement, so that feels great now, so I've got all that range. So let's see if we can do it on the other side. So let's switch to our right hand side. I've just done my left. Obviously, if you've done the other side, then switch around. And let's repeat that same exercise again, okay? So, foot comes back, we're balancing against the wall, we're making sure that we're balanced, our hands are about shoulder width apart, and we're pushing that heel and the back leg into the ground. Try not to jar the motion too much. We're just looking for a stretch, probably like a 7 out of 10 on the stretch awareness. And we'll push, 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 push down, get into that stretch position. And this time we're going to pull our toes up towards us. Might feel a little bit of a cramping sensation on the front of your shin. That often happens too. We're going to pull up, pull up, pull up, pull, 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 pull. Oh, really feel that. And then we're going to push down. So now we're going to push into the ground with our toes. Push, push, push. Squeeze your butt as well if you need to. Just to stabilize. Push, 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 push. And then we're just letting our body sink forward. You may even feel that just open right up as you've got that nice deep stretch position. So now let's go back to the first part. We're going to pull those toes up. Pull, 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 pull. Pull, 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 pull. Toes up, toes up. And then we're pushing down, 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 down with our toes as we come into that stretch, that activation. Down, 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 down. And relax. And let's see, oh, really feel that, if your range opens up on your ankles, which it might have done now. So again, does this work for you? If it does work, really worthwhile including it into your frequent mobility protocols that you use. We want to make sure that we're as efficient as possible when we do our workout and our mobility routines, and the frequency is high, because obviously if you do it more frequently, that's going to trump intensity, because we don't want to feel any pain. We want to make sure that we get lasting results by using it as part of our daily routine, because doing it daily, like brushing your teeth, is going to improve your ability and your mobility over time. So we've done our calf stretch, we've improved our mobility a little bit by doing our feet, our toes, our calf, and we've restored range a little bit by doing a little bit of PNF with a wall stretch. So let's do a check-in. Let's see where we're at. Let's see if it's improved on this ankle. So I don't know if you see that, but that's, yeah, I've probably gained slightly less than half an inch in range there, which is not bad, because if you add that, if you do that frequently over time, obviously results will snowball, and we're going to help improve some of that discomfort that you might feel if you are wearing something like a heel. So again, to bring back to my first point, we want to make sure that we're restoring ranges when we do things like wear high heels. So we want to make sure that we are having like a restorative protocol after we've had a long day and warm them. Not myself obviously, but if you're someone that does, make sure that you're rolling your feet out, make sure that you're using a mobility protocol to counteract all the things you're doing within the day. So the last part of this is you may find that if you're wearing heels, for example, that tension will travel up the posterior chain. It may also affect your low back, your shoulders, your neck. If you're someone who gets tension headaches, this can also be a contributing factor. So something to, worthwhile to bear in mind. So for the last bit, let's just do a little bit of a massage of the occipitals, those little bumpy ridges at the back. And we're just gonna see if we can just lift up, traction our head upwards a little bit, and a little bit of rotation there. Just palpate the tissue, and then bring your head forward slightly. So we're just tractioning up for the back here, up, over, and we'll just see if we can help take away some of that tension at the base of the skull. So we're just tractioning up, and forward, and down. Excellent. And then let's push back, tucking our chin. Tucking the chin is really important. Just keep that nice full posture. And let's press forward, tucking our chin again. Excellent. And let's see if that feels any better. Now again, you can return to some of the stuff we did last week for some of the next stretches I'll be covering again, probably next week as well. But hopefully that should give you an idea of some protocols that you could use to help restore some of the restrictions that you have if you're someone who wears uncomfortable shoes. This can also be really useful if you're just general population that has restrictions in their ankles. Maybe when you run, you're feeling it in the front of your ankle. Maybe you're feeling restricted when you squat or lunge or so on. Maybe you do a lot of sitting. Maybe your hips are really tight. We're going to cover some stuff next week. Just going to tell in the comments. We're going to cover some stuff next week that's really going to help with the hips again and low back. Problem area for many people. So we want to make sure that we're helping you guys too. Please feel free to send us some feedback in regards to these sessions. We want to make sure that we're tailoring these sessions to you guys so we can really help you and help you be successful in the gym now that we're starting to get open again. So if you have any feedback, you can send me direct messages to my Fascial Stretch Simon account. You can also comment on the video that I will post up of this session straight afterwards. And you can also DM the Good Life Fitness account as well. Really love to hear your feedback and how we can maximize these sessions to help you be more mobile and more stable and strong. So I will see you next Monday. You have 2 more sessions today. Cal Reba this afternoon with yoga, I think about 3:30, and with the kickboxing this evening. Really great sessions. And again, I will see you next week, same time, same place. See you soon. Bye.